everybody. I am Dr. Alex Hastings, Fitzpatrick Chair of Paleontology at the Science Museum in Minnesota. This is a Specimen Spotlight, and I'm very excited because today we've got a special guest, Jerry. Jerry, can you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Sure. My name is Jerry Jennissen. I am a dairy farmer in central Minnesota, and I have been dairy farming since 1979 on my own, and actually was born to a dairy farmer. So been involved with dairy cows since I became conscious of the world.
Right. Multi-generational too. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So as you know, we've got bison native to Minnesota. We use cows for dairy. They're both what we call ruminants, but since most people don't know what that means, how would you explain ruminant to someone who doesn't know what that is?
So what is a ruminant and why are they important? I think that's just as important as to what a ruminant is. A ruminant is an animal that has a digestive system way different than our own. Their stomach has 4 compartments in it. And I think if we go back and start with the sun, from where all of our energy comes from, then we can understand why a ruminant becomes important. The 4 stomachs, or 4 compartments in the stomach, the one that is so important is called the rumen. And what makes that special is the rumen fills with literally billions of microbes. As an animal or dairy cow becomes a mature cow, that rumen will contain up to 50 gallons of liquid, and the microbes in there will digest the components of plants that humans cannot digest, things like cellulose and lignin, and plants are absorbing the energy of the sun through photosynthesis, and then the ruminant is able to extract those energy that from the plant and turn it into things that we as humans can consume. And in a dairy cow in particular, the product that they produce called milk.
All right. So ruminants have been a part of local ecology across the world for millions of years, really. So it's interesting how you're able to kind of really dive into that and play into the chemistry and the biology aspects that go into dairy production. So you're really kind of getting a bigger picture evolutionary scheme of things, which is really cool. So you've mentioned this already, but how have you used genetics to improve the quality of milk production from these cattle?
Yes, obviously very much so, and interesting that the United States really has been the world leader in dairy genetics. And starting in sometime in the 1940s, scientists figured out how to collect semen from a bull so that we could, at that point, start trying to select bulls that came from our best cow families that then we could use on many different cows and other herds. And then in the 1960s, they figured out how to freeze that semen in liquid nitrogen so that it could store indefinitely. And then they figured out how to compare daughters of bulls to daughters of other bulls and compare their milk production. And at that point, the United States just skyrocketed ahead of the rest of the world in milk production per cow, and the world came here to buy their dairy genetics. And we sold our best genetics all over the world. And sometime in the 1990s, much of the world also figured out how to do this, and then we started buying it back. And so now we can source dairy genetics from all over the world, and we do. And I actually have salesmen who will stop at my farm. Actually have one coming by this morning who will be marketing semen from bulls.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
And so we can select for many, many different traits. Milk production, efficiency in milk production, and the components that are in the milk which is fat and protein, and solids, which is where the food is. And so we generally select for high levels of milk, fat, and protein. And we can select for many different physical traits, conformation traits. The cow's leg set, her mammary system, how well attached it is, teat placement, angularity, many different things that will help her to be a healthy cow that can live a long time and have a strong immune system.
That's great. So you're selecting these specific traits from things that you're seeing within your populations, and then picking the different traits that you want into your future generations. For kind of back it up. So there's some more modern tools to kind of really get into the genetics themselves. That's often referred to as genetic editing. Have you guys used any of that yet in the dairy industry?
We don't have gene editing tools available to us. We do use what we call genomics to identify the best genetics in the world. And starting in 2008 is when that became available to the dairy industry. Before that time, we would wait until daughters of a particular bull had actually had a calf and began milking, and then measured the amount of milk that those daughters would give and compared them to daughters of other bulls to be able to analyze which ones were producing the best. But starting in 2008, we were able to identify through the use of genomics and by using DNA sequencing, which bulls would sire cattle that would produce more milk at a very early age. Really at birth, we can tell. And so genetic progress has really skyrocketed since then. And nearly, or a high majority of all dairy cattle today are bred using bulls that have been analyzed with the use of genomic testing.
That's fantastic. It's always impresses me just how scientifically advanced a lot of agricultural industries are. And this is a perfect example of that. That's fantastic. Fantastic. So I got to ask though, do you have a favorite breed of dairy cattle?
Obviously I do. And if you know any farmers who breed any particular breed of cattle, you know that they might be chauvinistic about that breed. And indeed, I'm a fourth generation purebred Holstein breeder. I know that Holsteins are the best dairy cattle in the world. And like I said earlier, they milk the most, produce the most pounds of fat and protein. And because they are such a large breed, our pool of genes is much larger than any other breed, and that enables us the opportunity to select from a larger pool and gives us a chance to have a faster gain in genetics than many of the other breeds.
Well, that's a very well-reasoned reason for liking the Holstein cattle the best. That's fantastic. Yeah, I grew up in Vermont where they have Holstein is all over the place. They do a lot of dairy farming there. So I definitely grew up seeing the black and white cows all over. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Vermont's a great dairy state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jerry. This was a really fun chat here.
Awesome. I enjoyed visiting with you all and enjoyed the opportunity.
Thank you to Midwest Dairy for making today's conversation possible. Please follow and subscribe for more great content, and we hope to see you at the Science Museum of Minnesota.